Ever since the last big ammo drought, we've been hearing the same chatter. Panic buying, prices climbing through the roof, whispers of another shortage just around the corner. And let's be honest, a lot of gun owners are nervous about what 2025 might bring. But here's the part most folks don't see. Behind the curtain, the ammo industry is making some serious moves that could change the game for every shooter in America. Today we're breaking it all down. What's really happening with primers? What's going on with gunpowder? And what it all means if you're a hunter, a concealed carrier, a competitive shooter, or someone who just wants to keep their stockpile squared away. Before we get into the new developments, let's rewind for a second. Think back to 2020. If you lived through it, you remember how ugly it got. It felt a lot like the toilet paper panic, except for ammo. Store shelves went bone dry. Prices doubled or tripled overnight, and nobody had clear answers. So what caused it? The truth is, it was the perfect storm. The COVID pandemic rattled the entire country. People were worried about safety, stability, and the unknown. Gun and ammo sales exploded almost overnight. More than 8 million Americans bought their very first firearm that year, and every one of them needed ammunition. But that wasn't the only spark. The unrest that followed the death of George Floyd drove even more people to arm themselves. Then came the 2020 election cycle. With both sides talking about sweeping new gun restrictions, demand went from high to historic. Now you'd think manufacturers would just crank up the presses and fix the shortage. But reality doesn't work that way. Supply chains were breaking down everywhere. Lead and other key materials weren't moving. Even when brass and bullets were available, primers, those tiny chemical capsules that actually ignite the powder, were in critically short supply. Only a handful of companies in the world make them at scale. And when that bottleneck locked up, the whole system stalled. Fast forward to today. Supply chains are in better shape. Factories have made big upgrades. But the rumors are back. Talk of another shortage. Talk of prices climbing again. It's got a lot of shooters worried that we're staring down a repeat of 2020. So how much truth is there? Well, the industry has learned a lot of hard lessons. Companies have added new production lines, invested in automation, and built buffers into their supply systems. That's the good news. The bad news is, primers and powder are still the weak link. They're the foundation of every cartridge. Without them, all you've got is empty brass. Any disruption, even a small one, can slow the whole machine down. The bigger picture is this. Manufacturers know what's at stake. They're expanding, they're modernizing, and they're bracing for whatever 2021-25 might throw their way. But will it be enough? That's the question we're going to dig into. Because with the memory of the last shortage still fresh, the entire industry is on edge. And right now, major ammo makers are positioning themselves for serious growth. The first big step? A nationwide push to expand primer production, like we've never seen before. First up, let's talk about White River Energetics. They're based out of Daysark, Arkansas, and if you haven't heard of them yet, you will. This company has been cranking out critical components like primers, and right now, they're making some bold moves. They're putting about $70 million into transforming their current 14,000 square foot facility into a massive 100,000 square foot operation. That's not just a big win for Arkansas. That's a huge boost for the entire ammo supply chain, especially with the primer shortages we've all been dealing with. This expansion means more jobs for the local community. But more importantly, for us shooters, it means a steadier supply of primers, which benefits everyone from reloaders to commercial ammo makers to the military. And here's the kicker. White River Energetics isn't just stopping at primers. They're building the first brand new single-base smokeless powder plant in the United States in over 50 years. Construction's already underway, and if everything stays on track, that facility is expected to be running by early 2026. That's a game changer. Powder shortages have been just as frustrating as primer shortages. When this new plant comes online, it'll take some of that pressure off the global propellant market and give American ammo makers a lot more breathing room. Bottom line, White River Energetics is positioning itself as a serious player in the ammunition industry, and this expansion shows they're in it for the long haul. Now let's shift over to Independence, Missouri, where the Lake City Army Ammunition Plant is going through its own major transformation. Since 1941, Lake City has been the backbone of small-caliber production for the U.S. military, cranking out over 1 billion rounds every single year. But the facility is finally getting the overhaul it's needed for decades. One of the big highlights? A brand new production line dedicated to 277 Fury, the Army's next-generation squad weapon cartridge. This is the first brand new production facility at Lake City in decades, and Winchester, who currently operates the plant, is managing the project. Construction is set to kick off in the second quarter of 2024. On top of that, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is overseeing a wide range of upgrades across the plant. Much of the infrastructure still dates back to World War II. Once these improvements are done, Lake City is going to be a modern, high-tech ammunition hub, fully capable of supporting the future needs of our military, and, by extension, keeping the civilian market supplied as well. And then there's the big industry shakeup coming from Vista Outdoor. If you've been tracking the news, Vista sold off its sporting products division, which is now called the Kinetic Group. The buyer? The Czechoslovak Group at a price tag of $2.23 billion. This deal includes some of the biggest names in American ammunition: Federal, CCI, Speer, Remington Ammo, and Heavy Shot. Naturally, folks had questions about foreign ownership of such iconic brands, especially with national security in the mix. But here's the deal. CSG has deep NATO connections. They've already committed to keeping these operations here in the States, protecting American jobs, and even expanding production. That includes supporting both military contracts and the commercial side we all rely on. The Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States gave the acquisition the green light after reviewing it, which cleared the way for everything to move forward. With CSG's resources backing these brands, we could be looking at more efficient production, more innovation, and hopefully fewer supply headaches in the years to come. Put all of this together: White River Energetics ramping up primers and powder, Lake City modernizing for the next generation of military ammo, and Vista's brands being strengthened under new ownership, and the future of American ammunition looks a whole lot more stable than what we've dealt with the last few years. That's the kind of progress we need to keep both shooters and our military well supplied. Ammo Buyers 2025 is finally starting to look like the year we've all been waiting for. After years of shortages, empty shelves, and prices that made you think twice about pulling the trigger, the market has done a complete 180. Right now, ammunition is everywhere. Factories have been hammering away, running full tilt, and the result is the opposite of scarcity. We're looking at stocked shelves, plenty of variety, and no panic buying. And the best part? Prices are coming back down. Instead of fighting just to get a single box, you can actually shop around, pick what you want, and grab it at a reasonable cost. For hunters, range rats, or anyone who just wants peace of mind, this is one of the best times in recent memory to load up. Retailers are even cutting prices to stay competitive in what's officially a buyer's market. So what changed? The biggest shift is the steady flow of raw materials. For years, primers and powder were the choke points. When those dried up, everything slowed down. Now, manufacturers have diversified where they source components, and they're no longer as dependent on imports. That reliability keeps production moving, even when demand spikes. For gun owners, that means fewer headaches, fewer surprise shortages, and less worrying about sudden price hikes. And it's not just stopgap measures. Companies have learned from the last crisis. They're pouring serious money into new plants, modernized equipment, and stronger supply chains. Those moves don't always make headlines, but they're the reason we're standing on a much stronger foundation than we were just a few years ago. Put all of that together: non-stop production, stable materials, and lower prices, and the ammo market feels completely different than it did during the shortage years. The panic, the frustration, the constant hunt for boxes of 9mm. It's fading into memory. Shortages that once felt inevitable now feel like a bad chapter that's finally closing. That said, rumors are still everywhere. Scroll through YouTube comments, online forums, or social media, and you'll still see folks warning of an impending collapse. Here's the truth. Yes, no system is invincible. Global demand, politics, or an economic shock could always add pressure. But, compared to where we were 5 years ago, today's ammo industry is sharper, more resilient, and far better prepared. The smart move is this. Ignore the panic mill. Stick with credible information, industry reports, direct updates from manufacturers, and trusted firearm organizations. That's how you'll know what's really going on, and it'll keep you from making bad buying decisions based on fear. So to wrap it up, 2025 is shaping up strong for shooters. Supply looks solid, prices are coming down, and the system behind it all is more reliable than ever. But I want to know what you think. Are you still stacking ammo just in case this optimism fades? And if you are stocking deep, what calibers are your priority besides 9mm? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Make sure you smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and ring the bell so you don't miss what's coming next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.